Hello everybody and welcome back to Juno New Origins, where as you can see, I have flown our craft all the way from the village to the alley base. We're still about 50 kilometers or so out, but we can fly the rest of the way here. I'm also going to make a quick save here so that I don't have to fly back in case we, I don't know, run out of fuel or something. I think we'll be fine on the fuel though. We just need to get within this circle and then fly within like 150 meters of ground level. So that's going to be interesting for sure. The question is, do we have to stay within 150 meters of ground level for 10 kilometers? If that's the case, that could get spicy, but we'll see. For now, I'm just going to drop our altitude. I am deliberately diving here. We're going to exit this dive here fairly soon, probably about now or so. As you can see, we pitch up quite slowly. So that is absolutely something to be a little bit concerned about here. But let's just get within the circle here. I don't know why we have this camera shake, by the way. I tried to find an option to get rid of it because it's rather annoying. But let's go ahead and drop our engines a bit, and hopefully that'll do the trick. Okay, so we're now within range, and our altitude needs to be low enough. So we're dropping our altitude down here, and we're keeping our speed at some sort of thing. Okay, so let's just raise our nose a little bit because we see that we've got this, like, hill coming in here. Okay. So we need to be going a little faster here. There we go. We need to drop down a little lower. Cool. And now we just need to get 10 kilometers at this altitude. Looks like it does not reset if we go up above 150, so that is nice. Okay, let's get this banked around. And let's go for a pass this direction. Okay. We need to drop our altitude a bit. There we go. Something kind of like this. Little lower. And there we go. And we can end that flight. Cool. So we don't even need to land, apparently. So we are not going to recover the craft, we're just going to destroy it. Let's get out of there. So that'll give us access to the alley runway, which is fantastic. And as we can see here, there are currently no additional missions for progression. So we just need to work on the Spaceport Esperanza at this point. Okay, so this is our current Spaceport Esperanza here. Now, we know that if we go into build and we launch a vehicle for this, let's load in the space station launcher. We know if we do this, then we're going to have some issues with the contract, right? So we need to check inside of our fairing. Okay, so we've got that in there. Excellent. So we're going to put this out on the DSC launch pad, which is quite expensive, but that is the launch pad we're going to go with here. And you can see here, launch with the Nexus Cross is marked as completed, but if we launch this, which we're going to revert this back, but if we launch this, we can see it's not going to accept the Spaceport Esperanza here. The contract is currently stuck. So we're going to revert this back, and I'm going to have to restart the game and save game edit the contract. I'm not happy about it, but it's what we're going to have to do to get this to actually work. So let's undo an exit here. I'm going to have to make a save right here, which there should have already been one made. And I'm going to have to restart the game, and I will be... Actually, what we need to do is we need to not resume the flight. We need to put this out on the pad, then make the save. Like this. So that's a quick save there. I don't actually want to do a quick save. I want to end flight, save flight. Save and exit. Okay, now I'm going to have to restart the game and edit the save game so that it recognizes the station. I will be right back. Okay, so here we are with it allegedly fixed. Let me get the actual game capturing going. There we go. So as you can see here, we need to launch with the Nexus Cross, and now we need to dock to the spaceport Esperanza. Now, I don't know if that's going to work or not. We'll find out. For now, of course, we need to get this into the correct attitude. So a heading of like 60 degrees and a pitch of about 70-ish. And I want to check in on our timing here. Our timing is actually pretty good. So let's go ahead and launch this right now. We might have to do a little bit of an inclination change, but that's fine. Hoping that we clear that tower. Looks like we're good. Okay, let's get out of here. So that seems phenomenal. We're going to need to punch ourselves up to somewhere around like 100, 150 kilometers, something along those lines. That's the idea. So we're just going to get ourselves some altitude here. As soon as we hit somewhere around like 40 or 50 kilometers, I'm probably going to take us relatively horizontal here. I do want to start getting lateral speed at that point. The question is this actually going to count? If not, we can just make it count. That's going to be the idea here. So we'll see if that happens. This is very bugged, but we can force it to work correctly. So if we look at the actual terms of the contract here, we can see that we need to launch with the Nexus Cross. Apparently it bypassed approaching the spaceport Esperanza. We need to dock it and deorbit our stage. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do it correctly, and then we'll force the contract to complete if we have to. No big deal. So we're going to raise up our apoapsis here to 15 kilometers. That's fine. As I said, probably about 40 to 50 we'll start heading over. For now, I'm reasonably content with this. How are we doing with our... Okay, so we're definitely running low on fuel in this stage. I'm thinking we run out of fuel in this stage and then head horizontal. Let's get rid of those, and let's head to around 20-ish degrees. The next is getting rid of our fairing. We want to hold the fairing for now. We will get rid of the fairing eventually. We can see time to apoapsis is currently going down. That's understood. Our thrust to weight is currently negative at this point, so that's really not terribly shocking. Our thrust to weight is going to go up quite a lot higher, and we might need a little bit more verticality than this. This is an incredibly heavy payload. So let's see how that goes. I'm just watching our apoapsis right now. I think we do need a little bit more altitude here. Let's angle this up a little bit more. We're at about 0.9 thrust to weight right now. I do want to build up mostly lateral speed right now, but we are definitely going to need to get that time to apoapsis going the other way. Our apoapsis is quite low still. Thrust to weight is a bit of a concern with this heavy of a payload. So let's just park here for now. We can see time to apoapsis is ticking down, but slowly. That's okay. We're up to 50 kilometers on the apoapsis, and that's starting to go up much more quickly now. So very soon we're going to see time to apoapsis start to flip around. That is a very good sign. We're at about 50 kilometers right now. Arguably, we could get rid of our fairing. I have no idea how clean that fairing detachment's going to be. But that will boost our thrust to weight, which would be good. I'm going to try it. That's kind of clean. Clean-ish. We're going to go with clean-ish. I'm going to angle us up to 45 because I'm just watching our time to apoapsis. I really want to be pushing that time to apoapsis up right now. And that is indeed exactly what's happening. Okay, so we're putting half of our thrust into vertical speed and half of it into lateral speed at this point. I want to boost that apoapsis up a fair amount higher. I underestimated the amount of thrust that we would have at this point, and this is probably because of the sheer mass of this guy. So that's fine. Let's just bring this right on up, and we're going to hold here for a bit. I'd love to push that apoapsis up a fair amount higher. I'm looking at our lateral speed and I'm thinking, I feel like we need a little bit more here because I'm also looking at our current fuel amount and our thrust to weight, and I'm thinking, I don't know, this is spicy. This is an incredibly heavy module, so it's not terribly shocking if we have issues with that. But I want to keep burning here for now. I want that apoapsis to keep going up. We're still quite low here. We're going to be experiencing considerable drag at this moment. So we absolutely need to push that up a fair amount higher. We're only at 3% thrust here, remember. Or rather, 3% fuel. So I think we're going to have to pull this back to the save file, most likely. Because, yeah, 0.13 thrust to weight. Overall delta V here, 500. So it's very clear that we are not going to have enough here. We're going to have to pull this back. So that is unfortunate. If we undo an exit, that pulls us back to here, right? We would have to recover this, which hasn't been launched at this point. So this payload is a little too heavy, is what that means. So let's recover this. Okay, and we're just going to build here. And the question is, how do we want to go about increasing the power level of this? Simple solution. We just grab this, and we take it from radial X4 to radial X5 or radial X6. We'll try radial X6. So that boosts up the cost of it, but it's a very, very simple solution. We'll go ahead and launch this then. And once again, we want the heading to be 60 degrees. I'm going to put us at about 70 here. Oh, monoprop. Right, monoprop is a thing. Let's turn that off. Okay, throttle up, and off we go. This will be much higher thrust to weight to start with. Oh yeah, 1.48 is a lot better than what it was. So this is a whole lot better. Our thrust was just incredibly low for the payload. And that sounds good. So this will burn the same amount of time, but our thrust to weight is going to be a lot higher because we have added in, well, we've added in 2 additional side boosters here. We could think about taking that up to 7 or 8. We'll start to run into some space issues at that point. But I think for now, this is reasonably good. We can see our thrust to weight's already up over 2. And that is definitely a significant improvement. So let's keep an eye on this trajectory. That alone will go a long ways towards getting us further here. Yeah, we can see here, we're already at like 20 kilometers and 30% fuel left. Yeah, this is going to be much, much better. So we're at about 30 kilometers now, and previously we were at about 10% fuel remaining at this point, so that's definitely going to push us up quite a lot higher. I think that's absolutely wonderful. We are now at 50 kilometers vertical, and I'm just going to continue to burn here for the moment, although now I'm going to drop us down to 45. That's 70 kilometers vertical, and we need to ditch these. There we go. We're now at 79 okay, that's 80 kilometers vertical. Now what I want to do is I want to be getting pure horizontal velocity at this point. So that is fine. We are a much higher apoapsis, which means we're going to be losing a lot less to drag here, and we need to be boosting up our orbital velocity, specifically our lateral velocity. Now, I don't know if we have the thrust to weight to pull this off. Our thrust to weight is not terrible. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it's not magnificent either. Let's get rid of our fairing to boost up that thrust to weight. That'll be very, very good. We do not want to carry that weight any longer than we have to, and we already kind of carried it a little longer than we should have. So I'm thinking that we're going to be docking this guy, right? But where are we intending to dock it to? I'm not entirely sure. With the contract as bugged as it is, it's hard to tell. That'll definitely be interesting. So we can see here, our time to apoapsis is ticking down quite a lot. We don't have a lot of lateral speed right now. I'm going to raise this up to about a 20-degree pitch to help counteract that vertical velocity a little bit. But we're only just over 1 thrust to weight. This rocket is sized for a lighter payload than this, and we might have to increase the thrust on this stage as well. We'll see if that ends up happening. We might have to take that up to like 6 or 7 or some amount of different engines than what we have right now. It would be fine. There's space. We could definitely expand that, but it's... I'm hoping that we aren't going to have to do that. That would be ideal. We can see our time to apoapsis is 20 seconds, but it's going down kinda slowly. Not terribly slowly, but kinda slowly. Let's bring this up to a 30-degree pitch, and we'll see what that does. Okay, time to apoapsis is going down very slowly now. That is good. That's exactly what I want to see. We want to be putting as much as we can into our lateral velocity right now. Time to apoapsis is increasing. So I'm going to hold here until the apoapsis is somewhere around 100 kilometers. And we'll see what our lateral speed looks like there. I'm still concerned about how much DV we have here, though. Yeah, I'm actually very concerned about that. Our inclination is good. We have good timing here. So I'm happy about that. The real problem, of course, is I really feel like we need more thrust to weight in this. Or not really more thrust to weight, more burn time here with the same amount of thrust to weight, ideally. Let's see where this puts us, but I'm exceptionally concerned right now about our overall delta V. So yeah, you can see here, we're gonna have like 600 DV or so. That's not quite enough to get us into orbit. So we're gonna have to pull this back, and that is understandable. This is an incredibly, incredibly heavy payload. So there's a couple of things that we can do. We can increase the number of engines here, which I'm interested in doing. So let's do that right now. Let's take this up to 6 engines, positioned about like that, and then a 7th in the center. Now that's going to burn fuel a lot more quickly, and we can see on the ground this is 1.61 thrust to weight. So I want to pull these guys off for now, and I'm going to increase the radius of this to around 2 meters, and that's going to be a lot of weight. And I'm going to reattach that here. So what does that put us at? 1.01. Yeah, I'm not surprised about that right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to detach this. We're going to get rid of this, and we're going to put this back on. Actually, I changed my mind on that. We would just need to increase the overall size of these, or at least the power of it. But I don't think we can really increase the power of it that much. We can take these up to around 200. 250. Man, that price goes up so much. Look at that differential. 23 million to 115 million. Nuts. Okay, that is absolutely nuts. So I'd like this to be at about 200 here. This puts us at 1.17, so this is a very low thrust to weight. One thing we could think about doing is getting rid of these engines and running these bad boys out here. So that might actually end up being a good thing. And the mirroring is not going to be necessarily great. We can just do something like this and just have a lot of smaller engines like that. So that puts us at 83.1 million. Okay, that's noted. I'm just looking at our thrust to weight here. That's the same thrust to weight as what we had before. Okay, so 83.1 million compared to, I'm wondering about the price of this. Okay, so this price is slightly more efficient than that. But this is slightly lower thrust to weight. This thrust to weight is 1.0. Okay. I'm going to detach these guys, and I'm going to do something that's kind of weird here. Specifically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this down. This is going to add more fuel into this center stage. And you might be like, why would you do that? Because that's going to reduce your thrust to weight. You're absolutely correct. That is going to reduce our thrust to weight here. And that is not really the goal, but it is the end result. So that brings us down to 0.99, and that's not shocking. Now, there are a couple of things that we can do. We can increase the thrust to weight out here, and we know that that cost is really, really high. So our current cost on this is 59.7 million. Hang on, something is wrong here. Okay, that's the problem. There we go. Now our cost is 70 million. And what is our actual launch cost? Okay, so 45.6 million. So we're looking at like 115 million right now. So we do have some headroom here. Our contract is giving us 200 million. So we do definitely have some headroom there. I wouldn't mind increasing the size of these guys a little bit up to like 200. Something kind of like that. That puts our thrust to weight quite low still. What would it be looking at in terms of cost to have this be at about 1.5? This is still profitable. Even this is still profitable. What's the burn time on this? 9 minutes. That's not correct. Stage 1's burn time is 2.3 minutes. Okay, that's more like it. So I kind of want to fly this as it is. This is going to be not a huge amount of profit here, but I mean, the contract is bugged anyway. We'll just complete the contract and then complete the contract, if you know what I mean. So that's the way that I'm going to do this. We're just going to launch this guy right on off of here. I do need to turn off the monoprop. There we go. Cool. And let's get out of here. We've got much, much higher thrust to weight. These are much more powerful and more numerous engines. So that will push us a little bit faster, better thrust to weight. The main issue is burn time, right? We did increase the width of these tanks, so that is going to give us a fair amount of additional fuel. But we can see we're already down to 65% in these booster tanks. They were never intended to last terribly long. The real question is, how much DV do we have overall, right? And that's an interesting question. Now that we're at about 20 kilometers, I kind of want to drop us over to a 45-degree pitch. And we'll just chill here. This will get us a lot more lateral speed in this initial booster stage. But we need to get our apoapsis up quite a lot more. I'm a little concerned about taking heat damage. We'll see how that goes. We've still got about 30% fuel in here. Okay, we can be dropping this to about 10 degrees. Heat damage is a big concern right now. How much heat damage are we taking? Okay, that's how much heat damage we're taking. That is good to know. So we're a little overpowered at this point through the upper portion of the atmosphere. Okay, we should probably pull that back and hit the retry button. So we just need to change our overall ascent profile. We were too aggressive with the gravity turn. This overpowered status does mean that we're going to be concerned, however, overall about the altitude, our final altitude here. So let's just launch this up like this, and we're going to have to wait longer. So that's definitely a concern. We could change the throttle here and throttle these down, or we could just reduce the size of them, and that's probably the best way to go. That'll save us money. But I want to see what this ends up looking like. Overpowered is better than underpowered. We can tune it down. And that's very easy to tune down these side boosters. So if we are indeed overpowered, then that's fantastic news. That's really good because that means we don't have to scale anything else up. I love it. So we're just going to continue to burn here for quite a long time. I would like to move us to 45. I'm going to do that as soon as we reach an apoapsis of about, or actually maybe above ground level of 20. Okay, so that's 20 kilometers there. Let's move this over to 45, and hopefully we won't be taking too much heat damage here. We do see some parts taking heat damage. That's quite a lot of heat damage. Bring it up to 60. Okay. So that's too much, clearly. We can see our apoapsis is about 100 kilometers here. Okay, so we're just going to have to tune this ascent profile, but our thrust to weight is 1.4 here, and we've got quite a lot here. So that's all reasonably fine. We can tune this ascent profile. So we're going to pull this back, and it is time to put a cut in here. I want to undo. There we go. It is time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And next episode, we're going to tune down these engines a little bit. I'm actually going to do that right now, bringing this down to about 1.3 in the thrust to weight, something about like this. That'll give us more burn time and hopefully fewer explodey bits. That would be nice. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Atala, Andy Magar, Ali Lee, Dark Horse Xenocyte, Hiro Marutsu, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, The Lounge STL, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.